Let's talk about one decision you'll have to make that will affect both the content of your video as well as the style of performance in front of the camera. This is whether you should script out your entire speech or your performance, whether you should just work from an outline, or whether you should just try to freestyle it in front of the camera. There are pros and cons to each, so we'll take a look at each of them in turn. Scripting has some very obvious advantages. One is accuracy or precision, in that if you are working from a script, you can plan out exactly in advance what you want to say, and then you can measure very clearly whether or not you actually said it, whether you deliver the content accurately. When you're dealing with academic content, obviously, precision and accuracy is paramount. Scripting also has advantages for the editing room, in that it can be much faster to edit your footage if you're working from a script. You can tell very clearly which is the best take because you either said the line correctly or you did not. And you will probably have fewer bad takes if you are working from a script and you have either memorized it or you're working from a teleprompter. So this can speed things up considerably in the editing room. Another key advantage to scripting from the post-production side is that it's very easy to add closed captions if you've already scripted out everything. You can know exactly where you can add those captions, and this can be extremely important for accessibility, for people who are hearing impaired or whose first language is not the language you're speaking in your video. Scripting, however, also has some disadvantages. One is that it can slow down your production process considerably. So if you are writing out every word, you are drafting and drafting and drafting, it may take a long time before you actually get in front of the camera and produce your content. And so if time is at a premium and you really need to get that lesson out there, then you might want to consider a different approach. Another has to do with performance style. One of the disadvantages to scripting is that if you are reading word for word and kind of following along in that teleprompter, it can result in a very wooden delivery. Or the way that you write may not be the way that you speak. And so you'd have to remind yourself, if you're going to write a script, you might want to write it in a more colloquial, conversational style, instead of writing as if it's for an academic journal article. I remember for the first online course that I produced, I was working from a teleprompter and I had to remind myself after a while to blink, because when I watched the footage, there was this deer in the headlights look. Outlining is a second option, and there's some clear advantages to outlining as well. One is that it can ensure that you actually have a structure for your talk. This is very important, but if your talk and your content is somewhat modular, then with outlining, you can record one section and then you can move it around later in the editing room. So particularly if you have a talk or a speech or a lesson that you aren't going to be recording all at once, but you're going to be recording it in sections, outlining might be the best way to do it. And that you record this section now when you can, you record that section later when you have the opportunity. Outlining can also be very beneficial in terms of performance style, so you may end up with a more natural performance. You may be more relaxed in front of the camera if you don't have to strain to read every word there, or to remember what you had tried to memorize. With outlining, you may save some time on the production side, so you may actually be able to get in front of the camera more quickly because you've just got your outline ready to go. You start speaking. However, you may end up flubbing more lines because you're not used to being in front of the camera, and so it'll take you longer on the editing side. This can be a problem at the beginning, but it's a problem that's likely to go away after you get more comfortable performing in front of the camera. You'll have fewer flub takes and you'll have better footage. But one key risk with outlining is that it is entirely possible, either through carelessness or because you're in a rush, that you would forget to include in your outline key parts of your content. And this can result in a major inconvenience if you discover there's something essential missing here from my video and I have to go shoot more A-roll footage, I have to do a retake, or I have to essentially go ahead and make a script. So keep this in mind. If you do create an outline, you do want to check it. Extemporaneous freestyling is another performance option, but it's really only advisable for certain types of channel. Ones that have more of a vlogging feel, where you just kind of turn on the camera, you go live, and you're talking directly with your audience, that are very conversational, where there may be a little bit more filler allowable within those videos. If you're a professional actor, if you're someone who knows your content so well that you really don't need even an outline to deliver it, you've memorized that poem or you've given that lecture so many times, you can really just wing it in front of the camera. If you can do that, more power to you. Just keep in mind that a YouTube video product is more than just the on-screen performance. There's the video description, there's metadata, there may be time codes, and other things that you want to add in. So keep this in mind if you choose the freestyle option. Your homework for this lesson is to try out these 3 different possibilities and see which works best for you. So choose a topic that you know well, and then try to create a 2 to 3 minute video. It doesn't have to be longer than that. One where you freestyle, one where you work from an outline, and then one where you actually script it out word for word. Try videotaping all 3, watch the results, and then decide which works best for you.